Well, it's finally happening. I've been waiting to make a video on this for such a long time because I knew this was going to happen. So, what is happening?
I want to speak to Councilor Murillo in particular. You've been speaking about me on Instagram recently. Our organization has watched as you put forth more effort than anyone else on City Council to stall the efforts to revoke the ICE permit, all while gaslighting Portlanders by saying you're the most sympathetic to your goals. We don't buy it.
The Portland protesters who have been clashing every single night with federal agents, well, they're starting to turn on the Portland City Council, but really they're turning on the one member who seemed to be like the most relatable to the protesters. I mean, check out this video.
It would be really helpful if people who are on the ground, who are able to see some of the technology that ICE is using, if you could photograph it and send it to our offices, that's all information that we can use to try to figure out where we need to target.
So we're gonna dig into all of this, because how could protesters turn on a Portland City Council member who seemed to align with these protesters, who seemed to want to investigate ICE agents? Well, it all makes sense, and we're gonna dig into it, and you'll see why it makes sense. Now, before we start the video, make sure you guys please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And I think people are gonna want to see this, because if you've been following the Portland story, this is where it gets very interesting. So make sure to like the video and share it. People need to see this.
My name is Holly Brown, and I am with Portland Contra las Diputaciones and Revoke the ICE Permit PDX. Shame on you. Shame on the entire City Council and the Mayor for your lack of action surrounding the abuses of ICE in this city and for your lack of action on revoking the permit. But in particular, and today, shame on Councilor Murillo and Green for putting forth this performative stunt in an attempt to gain political clout and get activists off your back, all while ignoring the most obvious solutions to ICE's terrorism in Portland. I want to speak to Councilor Murillo in particular. You've been speaking about me on Instagram recently.
Whoa.
Our organization has watched as you put forth more effort than anyone else on City Council to stall the efforts to revoke the ICE permit, all while gaslighting Portlanders by saying you're the most sympathetic to your goals. We don't buy it. You continue to spread the right-wing narrative that this ICE facility somehow serves immigrants, and you continue to belittle activists who put their lives on the line at ICE. We don't want fees levied at the ICE facility for the attacks on the community in the future, because we don't want the building to be there at all in the future.
Okay, so let me give you some context and you'll see why this is all starting to make sense. Why these protesters are turning on Angelita Murillo. Well, back in July, the Portland City Council said we might be able to revoke the ICE permit from the ICE Portland building, thus there will be no more ICE agents, there will be no more clashing, and illegal immigrants cannot be deported. All is good. But that never happened. And not only did that never happen, Angelita Murillo said this.
Every counselor right now is very dedicated to protecting the immigrant community. There's not a single one of my colleagues that I think wouldn't have my back. So I think we are ready to hold the line for immigrants in Portland.
Well, the Portland protesters are not buying it. Back in July, they did buy it, but here we are in November, they're not buying it, and they are very mad.
Future, because we don't want the building to be there at all in the future. By putting forth this ordinance,
everybody to stay
you
quiet.
make it very clear that you plan to capitulate to allow the development of future detention facilities in Portland. Honestly, this is a pay-to-play ordinance in which the city can get paid off by these landlords in order to keep ICE functioning in Portland. That is insidious and it is dangerous. 60 days have passed since the ICE facility was cited for its land use violation. The reconsideration process should already be in motion, and yet the city is allowing ICE to stall the appeals process. 560 people were arrested by ICE in Portland this last month. How many of these people could have been prevented from being arrested if ICE did not have a literal staging ground in the center of Portland? How many lives will you continue to allow to be ruined while you sit here and say that your hands are tied? Portland City Council serves the people, not the other way around. The people are demanding the revocation of the permit, not this fee. Rescind the ordinance and put forth legislation to shut down the facility tomorrow, today, immediately.
Now, I want to be very clear. I am not on the side of the protesters. I am not on the side of the Portland City Council. I'm just trying to simply point out we all saw this coming. If you are a Portland City Council member and you are telling the Portland protesters who clash every single night, don't worry, we have your back and nothing has been done, what do you expect is going to happen? Now, this specifically is what's happening, and this is why this is all backfiring in Angelita Murillo's face. Basically, this new bill promises to make ICE pay for the impact to the community. And you're probably scratching your head like, well, why is that a bad idea? If I'm a Portland protester, of course I want the US government to pay for the impact. Well, it turns out the protesters actually read the bill, and they're pointing out, okay, this seems like the biggest scam ever. Check this out.
Never mind the fact that the important fines wouldn't even begin to apply until after ICE renews their lease for the McAdam facility. Never mind that it's unclear where the proceeds would actually go to and if it would actually affect those, the victims of ICE terror. What's most egregious here is the notion that the way to pressure ICE and Stuart Lindquist is through putting a monetary cost on their actions. ICE's budget is going to skyrocket over the coming years, and whenever the city eventually decides to charge them, will be more than made up for by the tens of billions in extra funding they are receiving. This isn't even a slap on the wrist, it is just charging them a fee in order to give legitimacy to their actions. Maria, this is a quote from your FAQ on the ordinance that your staffer presented earlier. Quote, costs you do not feel are costs you won't prevent. I actually agree with the statement, which is why I think it is so outrageous that you are trying to cover the costs incurred by the city before taking any meaningful steps towards addressing the root cause of this suffering and pushing to revoke ICE's permit and to operate the concentration camp on McAdam Avenue.
I think now is a good time to point out, welcome to sanctuary cities where nothing can pretty much get done. And Angelita Murillo thought this would be a good idea, but this idea totally backfired because it turns out Angelita Murillo actually realizes, well, we can't get rid of the ICE permit. We actually can't do anything, so maybe we can make some money. But the protesters are pointing out, yeah, the issue is, how do we know where the money is going to go? The protesters want one thing, the city council is saying they want the same thing, but nothing can get done. This is what we see in sanctuary cities. These policies that only can affect the local level, the state level, the city level, but the federal government, they're not being affected by any of this.
This ordinance, if passed, will give cover to the city's wholly insufficient response to ICE's terror. It will give the city something to point to and say, see, look, we're fighting back, while just offsetting the financial pressure on city government, leaving everyone else in the dust. You don't want to feel the cost because this is something you evidently do not care about.
So let me give you some more details behind this bill. If I am a landowner in Portland and I want to lease my property to ICE, and all of a sudden this is creating a public disturbance, there are protesters, there are clashes, basically as the landowner of that building, I would get fined. So every single time the Portland police gets dispatched and you have to use city resources, I get fined, I have to pay for that, allegedly, because the protesters are saying, hold on, are you just gonna dump the money into the Portland police's pocket? Is it gonna go to your pockets? How do we know if it's even gonna go to anyone we're actually trying to help and support? Now, real quick, before we continue, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can keep you up to date with this Portland story. We've been talking about Portland basically every single day, or at least keeping up with Portland really since June. So I want to make sure you guys are getting the best updates out there. We have the ability to cross-reference all of these stories, bring it together, and give you guys the full context. So make sure to please subscribe.
I don't know that we've done.
Video of 10 officers dragging a woman across the street at ICE.
I'm sorry, I'm sure this is important information, but the conduct is disrupting the meeting as we are trying to move forward. If you continue to disrupt, you will be ejected from the meeting.
Out. Like, when does it become enough?
To eject this individual from the meeting who's standing up so that we can continue our work. I'm looking to our security team here.
And we're still talking about, like, where do the fees go? Yeah. What? Like 10 cops? Yeah. Come on, do something, please. Like, this was happened 10 hours ago. These are being sent to the fucking cops so they can continue. They're so harassed protesting.
And by the way, these protesters are not talking about the federal agents, they're talking about the police. The police, they're the ones dragging the people, and you can hear in the background, you guys are just trying to pay the police to continue to do this.
10
Conduct is continuing to disrupt the meeting.
No collaboration, but y'all sweep the camp, right? You sweep the mutual aid, you sweep
Front row, and I'm going to ask that our team eject the person yelling in the front row from the meeting.
I'll go. Collaborator.
That's the mayor, bro.
Fuck eyes.
Tiffany's eating. You guys aren't paying attention with the Fuck eyes. Fuck eyes.
Are we able to continue? Mr.
Oh, don't worry, it gets worse.
For example, like the McAdam facility, they would have to pay the nuisance fees too. And part of those fees are to go to people who are harmed, who are living in the buildings nearby, who are getting tear gassed, whose kids are suffering.
The rest go to cops.
And she rightfully got called out by the protesters. Again, disclaimer, I am not on the protester side, but they are correct. He just said they're also going to the cops, and this is why Angelita Murillo got busted with this bill, because it doesn't only go to the people who are affected by the ICE building like she claims, it also goes to city resources.
Yeah, I gotta get
So
that
we-
money back.
Conduct in the room is disrupting the meeting. This is a warning that if there is continued disruption, you will be ejected.
I also need folks to understand that I have colleagues who have said that they are ready to go back to business as usual and to stop doing anything with regards to immigration because this is a federal issue. And so my job as a counselor is to negotiate with the values and the votes that I have here at the dais. And sometimes that doesn't get me the perfect policy that I would like. Sometimes it means that I have to work within the confines of who I'm working with. So I would hope that we would put pressure on those folks to do a little bit more.
Now, Angelita Murillo also got called out for her social media use like multiple times throughout this entire meeting. I'll show you guys that clip.
What's performative is this ordinance and your egregiously childish social media conduct. Don't the rest of you think you're off the hook, though? At least Murillo has the guts to say something and show us who she is, while the rest of you bury your heads in the sand. On one side of this table, we have residents who are dedicated enough to listen to you talk about trees late into a work night, just for the opportunity to beg you to do something about ICE for the 2 minutes you allow us to speak. On the other side, we have bureaucrats who think it's acceptable to let to ignore their constituents for months.
Now, to be fair to the story and to be fair to you guys, I don't want you to get the implication that every single person in Portland hates Angelita Murillo, because I managed to find the one person in this entire city council meeting who actually had something nice to say, and then he kind of gets yelled at.
And to those who are singling out Councilor Murillo, shame. This is somebody who is doing more than almost anybody
I
on
need
council
everyone
on
to let
issue,
this speaker speak.
and is a champion for this cause. And praising the right of council, the right wing of council, while going after those who are putting in a ton of effort on this is disgusting. I yield my time.
So he gave praise to Angelita Murillo, but then he also said you can't be praising the right side of the city council or the more conservative side of the city council. So I just wanted to point that out. He does support her, but at the same time, he's upset with her. Now, make sure to please stick around till the end, because after this person, total chaos erupts and then everybody just walks out. You'll see what I mean here in a second.
And I want to talk a little bit about why we should why we should not allow Angelita Murillo to vote on revoking the permit. Her insistence on creating ineffective policies instead of advocating for the removal of the facility's land use permit is indicative of her lack of care for Portland's immigrant community. Whoa. She claims that she's unable to show support for revoking the permit because she'd be taken off of the vote, but that hasn't stopped her from showing support for letting the facility stay in Portland.
Mind you, Angelita is an immigrant, by the way, and that's always been her thing. I followed her for a long time and have reported on her throughout this Portland story. So if you guys want to go back and track all of that, I can post those videos at the end of this video. But that's always been her thing. She's relatable, she's against ICE, she's against the establishment, she's an immigrant, she understands. Well, now they're turning on her.
She has accosted individuals and advocates for protesting at ICE. She has stated in interviews that she doesn't believe in shutting it down. She has spent more time arguing with people online who are actually advocating for real change than doing anything to help people in Portland from ICE. She has stated directly that in talking with immigration attorneys and others about what the closures will mean for most people, I've come to the conclusion that shutting down McAdam is not the right approach.
Mind you, all of these protesters were there for one reason, with the hope, and they were being told, hey, this building might get shut down. There is a clip somewhere out there. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. I cannot find it because there's like thousands of videos, but there is one video out there, I know I've talked about it, where protesters have specifically cited this ordinance where they might get rid of the permit, where protesters were like, oh, your permit's going to be gone. You guys are going to be gone soon. Start packing up your bags. I wish I could find that video, but there's so many videos, I just didn't have the time. But these protesters were out clashing every single night, hoping the building would be gone based off of the permit being revoked. I mean, it all made sense. No permit, no ICE.
I urge Councilor Murillo to actually talk to the advocates on the ground in Portland's immigrant communities instead of for-profit immigration lawyers. I urge her to try and log out of your social media accounts and actually talk to people who are your constituents. You use your social media accounts to constantly attack advocates and people trying to make actual change. And most importantly, I urge every single member on this council who is not her to recuse her from the vote revoking the permit. Thank you.
Okay, so now here comes the grand finale. I'm going to let the clip speak for itself, but I'm just trying to show you this is a massive turn in this entire Portland story. Angelita Murillo has always been like one of the most outspoken members, has always been this member of hope, where the protesters really seem to be behind her. In fact, Angelita Murillo was even on CNN, she was on MSNBC, she was garnishing some mainstream media attention. Well, now that seems to all be backfiring because these are the people on the ground. These are the people who call themselves, like the grassroots. They're not here to get fame and attention. They're here to get their way. Take out the Portland ICE contract. They're here to track ICE agents. They're here to do the groundwork. But they expect that there's some sort of support from the Portland City Council to help out, and they're obviously not getting it.
Else in the queue for debate on the amendment. Keelan, can you please call the roll?
Clark, Green,
Yes.
Avalos,
Aye.
Dunphy,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye. Excuse me. Aye.
Knoll,
Thank you for all the clarity. Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Cleamelane,
Yes.
Murillo,
Aye.
Portal Guinea.
Aye.
The amendment is approved with 9 yes votes and 3 absent.
Shame on you!
These are disruptions to the meeting. This is a warning that if there is continued disruption, you will be ejected. Can we please eject the individual screaming in the back of the room? Please eject. Individual upstairs in the white sweatshirt.
Revoke the permit.
Thank you.
Ice out of Portland!
Ice out of Portland.
Ice out of Portland!
Ice out.
These are the same chants. If you've been watching any of the live streams, been watching any of the Portland coverage, these are the same chants you've probably heard before. Because some of these protesters in the background, I didn't say who they were, some of them have been spotted on camera so many times at these protests. So a lot of these protesters are here to show up away from the ICE building to let these Portland city councilors know, hey, we want help. Specifically, Angelita Murillo, where have you been?
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Colleagues.
Portland!
Ice out of Portland! Ice out of Portland! Ice out of Portland! Ice out of Portland! Ice out of Portland!
Ice out of Portland!
Okay, so the last thing I want to say is this. This has been brewing for a very long time now. I have not been showing you guys the TikToks and the Instagrams of some of these protesters already calling out Angelita Murillo. The only reason why I did not make a video on it like a few months ago, really 3 months ago, is because if it's only 1 or 2 people calling her out, that's not the biggest deal ever. But now that we have group leaders and group representatives, that's a way bigger deal, and that's why I figured this is the best time to finally tell you guys this was brewing. This was eventually going to happen, and it finally happened. And I knew it was going to be very bad for Angelita Murillo when she went on CNN, when she went on MSNBC, and she was, kind of taking this glory when all eyes on Portland should have been on the protesters and on this building, yet everyone was talking to Angelita Murillo. Again, disclaimer, I'm not on her side, I'm not on the protester side, but I'm just trying to show you what the dynamic is internally for these protesters and their relationship to the city council. It looks like a lot of these protesters just don't trust them anymore. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Please pray for peace. We need that right now. And I will be tracking Portland like I always do every single day to give you guys the best information out there. Thank you guys so much for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.